Hello, and welcome back to the Capacity Program. I am very excited to continue this program and all the juicy modules that I have for you. And what I would love to know before we dive in today is how you are feeling since yesterday's call, where we really were able to look at and identify where you have resistance currently in your business. So can you clearly identify there's resistance here, here, and here? And if so, yes, and it's hopefully clearer than ever. And the thing about this is when you notice, let me ask you this, when you notice where you see there's resistance right now for you and your business, is it so clear that there's a gap in your identity? Because, for example, if there's resistance around fear of being seen, or resistance around clients are overwhelming, or resistance around I don't want to look at the money overwhelms me, can you clearly see how the resistance around money, the resistance around clients, the resistance on social media, it's a gap in your identity. Because if you were being the person you needed to be to have whatever it is, it's like, well, I wouldn't be afraid of this. I wouldn't be overwhelmed by this. I wouldn't be in whatever around money. And so this is where it's an identity game, especially at this level. And it's a choice to say, do I want to become someone who can work through this resistance? So this thing that feels challenging right now eventually feels effortless. And this really has been my journey as I've started to like massively grow a few years ago, is the conscious choice to say, can I rise through this resistance? And from the masterclass, the Hungry for 100K, I clearly painted the picture of at the beginning, it's less of a choice because the resistance is easier to walk through. The resistance gets more challenging as you become more established, and that's why it feels harder at certain levels to work through the resistance. And so I just wanted to bring this forward at the beginning of today's call for you to see, like, I know you can see the resistance, but now the work is choosing to be the one that overcomes it. And that's what we're going to do in this program. Okay. Makes sense, more relaxed. I'm already not doing certain things that came up yesterday. See, this is how fast things can shift. That's incredible. So today we are going to talk about knowing what feels effortless and leveraging what feels effortless. And then we're going to talk about growing our capacity in areas that feel more challenging. So with capacity, we want to learn how to grow our capacity, but we also want to leverage what already feels easy and effortless for us. So I'd rather us maximize what already feels effortless than just try and grow your capacity. So that means that we want to leverage our current capacity. So there's going to be areas where it's like I have to lean into this, I have to stretch this, I have to learn how to grow this. But it's also important to look at what feels naturally easy and effortless for you now and to maximize those things in your business. And quite honestly, design your business around what feels the easiest for you. So on this call, you're going to gain clarity on what feels the easiest and effortless for you right now, and how to double down on that. And then at the end of this call, we're going to talk about what it looks like to stretch your capacity. So the things that have more resistance right now will start to feel easier. And I'm going to talk to you about how to create that at the second half of this call. So the different things that we do in our business take different amounts of energy. And this looks different for everybody. So not everything we do takes the amount of energy, and something that takes small energy or a low amount of energy for me might take a lot of energy for you, and something that takes a little energy for you might take a lot of energy for me. So that it's just important to have self-awareness. This is why everyone's business is supposed to look different, because not all of our energy is the same. So for example, leading a coaching call like this for an hour takes a different energy from me than being on an hour-long team meeting, right? It's different. It takes a different energy. spending an hour writing content takes a different amount of energy than leading a mastermind call, for example. It's the same amount of time, but it's a different energy. So I learned very early on what takes a lot of energy for me to do and what takes little energy or what actually gives me energy. And I leveraged in my business doubling down on the things that take very little energy and honestly built my business model and my schedule around my natural, what I call my natural capacity. So, for example, I knew at the very beginning, I knew that having a lot of private clients, energetically, it's a lot for me. Like, I find a lot of one-to-one, it's just it's draining for me. Like, no matter how great the clients are, no matter how long or short the calls are, like, it takes a lot of energy. So I knew that if I was gonna take a lot of one-to-one clients, then I wouldn't have a lot of space for other things in my business or other things that I wanted to prioritize. So because I knew that, I was like, okay, I can have some private clients, but what's my limit since I know that it takes a larger amount of capacity for me, right? Then the opposite of that is like I knew right away that it actually takes very little energy for me to deliver one to many. Like I'm like I get on a call, I serve to people, I get off. Like it's just it's I knew that that takes a little amount of energy and it also gives me energy. So then I was like, okay, I can do more of one to many because it takes less energy. And I can have some one to one, but not all because I would have no energy if I focus only on one to one. So you see how this is not just about a business model. This is not just about the strategy of like one to many offers or whatever. This is about knowing what types of offers or the things that take a certain amount of energy, leveraging the things that take small energy and knowing how to intentionally place the things that you want to do but take more energy. So the different ways that you coach and you deliver your work take a different output. And this like honestly, I wish that more people like thought about and taught because again, we're just taught like here's the business model and we're not taught thinking about the energy output that we all experience differently. And this is why it's not just here's a blueprint and have a business model like this because if your energy is the opposite of that, you're going to be capped and you're not going to scale. So everything takes a different energy. So a Q&A call, for example, takes a different energy than when you are delivering an entire module. So a Q&A call when you're responding, have you noticed this? When you're answering questions, takes a different energy than if you have to fill the whole call with you delivering content. You're the one who thought of it and you're just filling the space. You might feel it might take you more energy preparing for that call where you're just delivering versus it takes you nothing to prepare for a Q&A, and it might take more energy giving, and then after the call, if it takes more energy giving, then you need more time to recover after. Do you see how it's like, so this affects your day. This affects your week. This affects the rest of your day. This affects what you're doing or not doing in the time after those calls, depending on if it takes a lot of energy or less energy. A group program like this takes a different energy for me than a mastermind call. Even if it's the same as 60 minutes, it's the same amount of time when I'm delivering the entire time like this versus when actually on a mastermind call, half the time my clients are talking and I'm responding. It takes a different energy, you know? An hour training on a Zoom call or a live stream takes a different energy than if you did a one-to-one call with a client, right? And for some of you, the group training takes high energy, and for some of you, the one-to-one takes high energy, or some of you it's vice versa, right? The group call takes little energy, or the one-to-one call takes little energy, right? Even like a one-to-one client in Telegram or Voxer is a different energy than a mastermind group with 5 people or 7 people or 20 people. It's a different, you're going to think about that message different or that chat differently when there's one person in it versus if there's 10 people in it. A hot seat coaching call, I'm just listing all these examples because it's so important to think about. A hot seat coaching call where people come up, they talk, they ask their question, takes a different energy for me than if everyone submits questions on a feed. Something to think about. You know, like even those of you who are in the collective, we shifted last month. I was like, we're not doing a hot seat coaching call. Submit your questions. I answered all questions in 45 minutes. I guarantee if we would have done it hot seat, we would have been on an hour and a half. And it's like, why is this so profound? It was more valuable for everyone on the call and the replay, and it took less energy for me. Not like it's like, oh, I don't want to do anything. It's like that affects my day. So again, things to notice where you're like, wait, what takes a lot of energy for me? What doesn't take a lot of energy for me? Even like putting in, if anyone here has like audio experiences and you've got a channel, you know, delivering audio in a channel is very different than Telegram with a chat where people are responding to you. Even if you do one-to-one calls video with your clients, one-to-one clients is a different energy than an audio call. None of this is right or wrong. Everyone just experiences it differently. So for some people, it might take zero energy or very little energy to do like 5 one-to-one calls a day. For some people, it's just, oh yeah, give me all the one-to-one, it takes me nothing. Versus for me, I'd be like, I need to be admitted to the hospital if I did 5 one-to-one calls. It's like, and it's nothing wrong with me, it's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, it takes a different energy, right? It takes me zero energy to do like a Q&A feed. I'm like, give me it, I can do it all day. Versus you might be like, oh God, a Q&A? Hell no, that's just too much to think about in one call, right? So it's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just noticing. You might be so exhausted after delivering audio trainings. Like you might find it easier to be like interacting and seeing people's face versus I'm like, give me a topic and I can riff and it takes zero energy. So there are some coaches who thrive with a lot of one-to-one clients and it doesn't take a lot of energy. There are some coaches who thrive with like, I love all the group, let me do multiple groups at once. It's like nothing for me, right? There's some coaches who are like, I love a lot of chat in Telegram, like give me all the chat, give me all the clients in there. And there's some people like Telegram overwhelms me, right? Some people, a lot of one-to-one clients feels easy, effortless, done, just responding. For some people, a lot of one-to-one is like, oh God, that's so heavy. For some people, give me a lot of group, it feels easy. And for some people, group offers is like, oh my God, it gives me anxiety. So do you notice from me just riffing on these different examples, what you prefer and what is your natural capacity or your natural energy? Like, what do you prefer and what takes the least amount of energy versus what takes more energy? Because when you notice this, you're going to design your offer suite, most of your offers, and even your schedule around that doesn't take a lot, that doesn't take a lot, that doesn't take a lot. Oh, that takes a lot. So if I'm going to do a type of call that takes a lot, I'm going to be intentional about how I schedule it into my calendar. Right? And so this is where it's like you learn this, you notice this about yourself, then you're doing more of what takes a small amount of energy. You're more intentional of plugging in the things that you want to do that take more energy, and then you're starting to maximize your state of being. This still affects me 3 months later. What does? Does something still affect you 3 months later? That's funny. I can do a lot of one-to-one, but I actually have so much fun in one-to-many, and I think my clients also get way out from me and my wisdom from one-to-many. I only realized this recently. I'm pouring more into one-to-many. It takes so much more energy for me to do pre-recorded. Yeah. Because for pre-recorded, if it's like, oh, you're thinking about it, oh my God, I have to do it. I have to sit down. You know, sometimes it's like having just people on a call, it can make something feel super heavy versus something feels super light. Doing way too many module calls instead of Q&As. Yes. Least group Q&A Telegram thread, one-to-many takes a lot, one-to-one call. So just noticing. So the other thing about all of this is some people are naturally responders and some people are naturally teachers or content creators. And this is where you get to contemplate, what is my natural state of being? So responding is usually when it's like in a one-to-one container, and the way your one-to-one is set up is like your client brings forward the question. And even on calls, like you don't have a lesson for your one-to-one clients, you're responding to what they bring forward. So if that's what you do in your one-to-one, then it's like you're responding. Same with if you have a mastermind and it's like, well, you just respond to what your clients ask you, or hot seat coaching, you just respond. So if you love responding, then you're going to do more responding containers. Versus teaching and content creating is like programs where you're filling all the content, or audio experiences where like you're the one delivering. And so you might naturally be a responder, or you might naturally be a creator, a teacher, and just knowing that about you, you're going to say, okay, if it's easier for me to be in responding energy, or it's easier for me to be in teacher energy, you're going to leverage that in your business model. And then for some of you, I see Yanni says, I love both. You might prefer both, and then you find a balance. So I love both. Like my business model is both. You guys see me do this. Like I'm filling the space on this call. I fill this in 365 and any program I'm delivering. In my masterminds and one-to-one, I'm responding. Now, even though I love both, a call like this takes a different energy than a mastermind call. A call like this takes a different energy for me than a one-to-one. So I am then just intentional on how I schedule these different things in my day and in my week. So I'm not doing on one day all things that take more energy, because then I'm like, I'm wiped by the end of the day. And if I want to prioritize marketing, content, life outside of business, and still have energy on those days, then I'm going to do one thing a day that takes a lot of energy. But on another day, I can maybe do 3 things that take nothing. Right? Does that make sense? So you notice what is easiest and what can I package together? What takes more energy? Then maybe that's the only thing you do on a day, or whatever it is, depending on what your business looks like. Okay. The other thing about this that's really important is this will change throughout your journey. So like what you prefer and how much energy these things take will change over time. So there was a time where I was like, oh, I want all private clients only in Voxer. I don't ever want to do calls with clients. It's Voxer only packages. And I loved it. And then it switched and I was like, actually, always having a lingering conversation, I don't like. I did packages with calls only, because it was like you just get on the call, you get off, there's no lingering thing. So that changed. And now it just depends on like the season. What do I want? Do I want calls only? Do I want people constantly in my Voxer? Right? There may be a time in your business where you want to be really hands-on with people and you want to be responding a lot. But then as your business evolves, doing a lot of one-to-one responding might almost feel draining, because you'd rather be spending time scaling the business and the brand or another way. Or you might get to a level of income. This is where things get interesting. You might get to a level of income where you're like, do I want to trade any of my one-to-one time for money when you're making X amount per month? And then your energy starts to shift. And so you might get to a point in your business where you're like, I don't ever want to do anything that's not scalable. Because when you have a really good amount of money coming in from non-scalable offers, your relationship from one-to-one offers is going to change. And when your relationship to one-to-one offers changes, then your energy changes. Because if you're like, I don't even need to be doing it, then it's going to be draining to think about that call or think about that client. This is also where, and it's another conversation, is that's when like pricing for one-to-one or close proximity can really skyrocket, because you don't have to be doing it. And if it takes a lot of energy and it's not something that you want to prioritize, then you can really skyrocket those prices. But that's something to talk about a different time. There will be times where you feel like one-to-many offers feels effortless. And then all of a sudden it might feel like, oh God, one-to-many offers feel draining. And then one-to-one feels effortless. This is going to change a million times throughout your journey. But what is so important is for you to just notice. What feels easy, do more of that. What feels heavy, do less of that. When we leverage what feels easy, then there's less of a cap. When we're doing a lot of things that has resistance and feels heavy, how do we create more? Because you're drained all the time, because everything that you're doing, or most things that you're doing, take up a lot of energy. Now, the next part of this, which I find quite fascinating, is, so we understand now that the way that you deliver your offers takes different energy, and that looks different for everyone. Now, the other thing about this is each of your clients will take a different energy. Not all of your clients are the same. So this is why it's not as simple as like just sign 10 clients. It's not as simple as just fill a mastermind with 10 people. It's not that simple because you could sign 10 one-to-one clients and one takes up a bigger amount of energy. Like you're like, this is like having 100 clients, right? And now let me be real. There's nothing bad with the client, but everyone is different. So depending on someone's communication style, someone's energy, someone's personality, even your relationship with the person. Because if you have a client that you've known for 5 years, they're probably a really easy client energetically. Versus if you get a new client and they're a different energy, that's going to take up more space. So you could have the client that you've known for 5 years message you 20 times a day and it feels like nothing. And then one new client that has a different energy messages you twice and it's like, oh God, that feels really heavy. So it's not number of clients.